So at this point, anyone who denies we have a college affordability and debt crisis problem in this country has their head buried pretty deep in the sand. We know the basic facts, and we've talked a lot about them in multiple hearings here, but I want to zoom in on one particularly alarming statistic. The Education Department recently released data showing that almost half of all black students who took out loans in 2003, 2004 have defaulted on their federal student loans. Black college students default at 5 times the rate of white college graduates. In fact, black college graduates are more likely to default than white college dropouts. Now, Dr. Baum, you've argued that the student debt problem is not really a problem for most people. So let me just focus in on these data that I just talked about. Do you believe that student debt has reached a crisis for African Americans?
Student debt has reached a crisis for a number of subsets of students. Black students are notable in this. I think we need to understand much more about why. There are some obvious reasons, such as even given income levels, wealth levels among African American families are much lower than they are among others with similar incomes. We know that black students are more likely to wait longer and be older and have other responsibilities when they go to college, and they borrow more. And we know that their incomes afterwards are not as high for various reasons, including discrimination in the labor market. So we clearly need to focus on the circumstances facing these students, on the circumstances facing older students, and in particular on students who are attending for-profit institutions, borrowing more than other students and not necessarily getting degrees of value. And notably, the questions about quantity of debt for individual students don't get at the real issues, because many of the students struggling most are those who don't complete their degrees. They have low levels of debt and they can't pay them because their education investment has not paid off.
So, and this is what one of the subsets into the data looks at, is that most people are better off because they go to college, but this wasn't true for nearly half of all black students. So what I want to think about is how we solve that problem. There are a lot of pieces to understand the data, but how do we fix the problem? So Dr. Smith, let me ask you, do you think that more financial aid counseling alone will fix this problem?
No.
What about FAFSA simplification? Will that fix the problem?
Very good, but won't fix it.
Okay. How about risk sharing or accreditation reform?
Also, really, really great things. Won't fix this particular problem.
How about college deregulation?
No.
No, not going to fix this problem. Okay, and recently, the chair of the House Education Committee argued, quote, there isn't any more money out there to spend on students in higher education. Can we solve this problem without investing more money in our college students?
I think it's really difficult, and especially when Congress passes billions of dollars of tax cuts and things like that, which I know is not the purview of this committee. But when I talk to people every single day, they don't understand the rhetoric that there's not there for money to better themselves through education, but there is for these other types of things.
You know, Dr. Smith, actually, I think you put it exactly the right way. That we just learned that Congressional Republicans could find $1.5 trillion to give away to rich people and corporations, but suddenly there is no money left to invest in people who are trying to get a college education. An investment that not only pays off for the individual, but pays off for the whole economy and for the whole country. You know, the higher education law that we write in this committee could be the law of the land for the next decade. And it would be unconscionable for us to write a law without making college more affordable and without dealing with the 40 million Americans who are struggling to pay off $1.4 trillion in student loan debt. I think that should be our first job. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.